Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday, the ninth month of the year. I'm gonna keep Facebook open on my phone, but if you want to ask questions, please join on Zoom because I'm not sure that I'll be able to pick up the questions, but I will try. Yeah. Today we were supposed to talk more about nonverbal communication, but a lot of things happened this week. And if you're kind of like in a bad mood already, and Nazanin, I hope that's not the case for you, I strongly advise you to turn this off and watch it when you're in a better mood. Um, Communication. I wanted to talk about how we communicate with ourselves and how that voice in our head that sometimes turn into like a million voices. Just think about the fact that we have approximately between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts a day. That stresses me out right away. What do you say, Nazmi? It's like,
Yes.
how many? Today I was lying and I was resting like for 5 minutes. A huge shout out to the sleep doctor, The Power of When. If you have trouble sleeping, losing weight, anything, love the book, The Power of When. Amazing. I'm a wolf, so I need a little adjustment on my caffeine and stuff. If you want to just feel better, check out that book and maybe you'll find something useful. And I was trying to figure out how many seconds. There's like 60 seconds in a minute. So 60 minutes in an hour. So 6 per 6, 3,600. Like my brain is busy.
Yes.
How am I myself? But what really has been my question this week, I've been observing myself and trying to see what my mind is telling me at different times of day. And I strongly invite you to do the same. We get all this that we need to think positive and stuff, but it's not easy. And I'm not even sure that it's useful. I think it's more useful to observe how my brain is coded, how it's programmed. And my main program is when I've done this, then I can do this. And
Mm.
it always seems like this is better than the first thing that I'm supposed to do. So I've just been trying to enjoy every little single thing that I did. And it's gotten like that because of something really serious that happened. I was interviewed to a podcast in Denmark and did some research on statistics. I'm not sure if I shared them in this group or not. But in Denmark, there's 125,000 young people between 15 and 28 that feel alone very often. 125,000. That's a lot. And Denmark is a small country with
Mm.
inhabitants. So my question was, why, what is, how do I reach out? And I would really love for you to ask yourself that question too. How do I reach out? And what happened to me is that I know someone, after it had happened, I found out that someone had felt really lonely. And my first reaction was like in the movies, why haven't you told me? I would have been here. And then I was like, you know what? If you really think you know this person, you knew.
Mm.
Maybe I didn't have time. Maybe I didn't know how to say it. Maybe I was scared of being, nosy or disturbing, anything. And I still haven't found out. But how do I reach out? How do I help? How do I communicate? Am I able to observe someone as consultants, as a vocal coach, as a public speaker? That is kind of our deal. So let's get better at it. I have a horrible example to share with you. And it's about, well, let's say in Italy, I've been driving to a client these past 3 days and it's a nightmare in Italy. I'm very calm and I do my morning meditation and I do not have my coffee because Dr. Bros tells me I cannot have caffeine until 11 o'clock. So I'm trying that. And very settled. And then I go into the Italian traffic and my non-verbal language immediately going. And probably you who's listening, nobody does this except for me. Everybody's really calm in traffic, but I try to observe what's going on. And someone, I don't know if you ever tried driving in Italy, but it's like risking your life. You have to have an eye on every finger, they say, because there's like the motorino, and then there's the car, and there's a tourist and everything. And I was imagining, so real life, terrible tragedy that I'm trying to figure out how to wrap my brain around. And what would I do if that happened to me? Or what do we do? Because I'm sure this has happened somewhere else. So you're driving and you're minding your own business. You're driving really well. And I hope I tell this story correctly out of respect for everyone that's involved. If not, allow me it's just to get us thinking about what is going on in our society, even before COVID, with loneliness and why we do what we do. So you're driving and someone hits your car and they do not stop and they get away. And you manage to get the target of the car and you call the police because it's not fair that they ran away. And the police, they go to this young man's home and ask him if he's involved in this accident. And this young guy, he goes to get his documents, and you're in your car and on the accident site. And you're probably, how would you feel? That's what I wanted to ask myself, like, how would you feel? I would probably feel angry, resentment. Wherever I was going, I wasn't able, to go. I would be sad about my car, afraid, because when someone else hits you, gives you kind of like a shock. As in, have you ever like had a little car, a tiny car accident?
I had a kind of a bigger one, but I was a child. I don't remember, but I remember the shock. Yeah.
You remember like the sound, like, because it's like metal, it goes against the metal and you don't know what's happening. So your brain freezes and you can't flee because you're in the car. So you never know what's going on. But I don't know how you get this information, but what happens is that this person that hit your car went to the room they lived in, took out a rifle and shot himself. So how do I feel now? And how do I live with that? And if not too much, just send a prayer to the mother and everybody that's involved in this. Because it's just, there's somewhere where we can, I know a lot of people do a lot to communicate and help. But with so many young people feeling so lonely, doing what we would call crazy stuff, like stuff that you would never imagine. I think some of the people when they did statistics that were around that saw, like that experienced or saw the consequences of the wars, World War I and World War II, they do not feel alone. Like it's like 5 to 10% that sometimes feel alone. So what can we do more? What can I do every day to reach out to somebody that apparently is okay, but is totally not okay? Can I observe changes in them? Can I be less focused on myself and really try to look at someone and figure out what is going on? And I know when you say something like this online, you're up for criticism. And I'm not talking about the people that don't want help, that someone is trying to help and they don't want it. Oh, Lorenzo, yeah, he says it depends on which city you're driving in Italy, but it's like, it's dangerous to drive here. And just, we have to ask ourselves, what can we do to give some relief for these young people? The kids that are in school in Denmark between 5 and 8, like the 5th and 8th grade, 1 out of 4 feel lonely. So where are we not communicating what is just down the drain? And how can I do something to do more? And I'm gonna see if I'm gonna be able to share the screen. And for me, hearing this, it's really been a shock. Like there's like no way I can't explain it. I can't figure out how, why, when. It's just one big, and that's the definition of shock. Like there's something so unexpected and something that you couldn't even imagine in your wildest dreams. And what I would like to bring it back to is us. Do I sometimes have thoughts that can, not that I don't acknowledge him, but I don't want to, it's not something that I go public with, like someone that surpasses me today, I'm like, I get angry, and maybe I feel that I'm supposed to, go into the, how do you say, with the highway to pay the toll before this other one. But actually we were kind of like on the same page, and it was like, okay, so you go in. And Stefano Benemeglio, just read the definition of shock: sudden upsetting or surprising event or experience. It was a shock to face such hostile attitudes. And then it can also be a medical condition. And I'm like, why? In schools all over the world, in institutions, why do we not have more hours that are psychology, communications? What do I feel? How do we talk to each other? And I'm sad today, but it can really get my blood boiling. It's like, we know they're lonely, we know this and this is happening, so why are they still learning? And that is totally important, to be geography, history, Danish or English, whatever country, a second language, but why are we not teaching them and us to communicate on a deeper level? Why? And me as a first person. Yeah, thank you, Lorenzo. So Lorenzo says remove rifles from homes. Yeah, but very difficult. Then teach to stop and help if you accidentally hit someone, and teach kids that this is not a video game, that if you make a huge mistake, you can't kill your character and restart all over. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Lorenzo, for that. And taking it back to us, Stefano Benemeglio, who's the one that developed the analogic disciplines, he talks about 4 R's in Italian, and it's rimorsi, rimpianti, rabbia, e rancori. And I tried to translate them into English so we can talk a little about that, seen from our perspective, from me. how, if I have some of these feelings, do I communicate them? How do I get rid of them? How do I hide them? How are they important in my life? And what can I do to just communicate better who I am and what? Will you stop it, Athena? I think she feels that I'm sad. My dog, she's sitting there. Normally she's just sleeping somewhere and she's just, yes. So how can I communicate to her that I want her to go away, but in a loving way? Athena, non adesso, ok? Non adesso, Ciccia.
That's probably because she feels how you feel.
Yeah. Ciccia. Hello?
Mhm.
Oh, woo, woo, woo,
Cute.
woo.
She probably feels your sadness. That's why she's not living.
But we should probably be more like dogs, no? Because they just sit like this
Can I do something?
and they just look at you until you do something. So I don't know if you saw, I saw those videos on Facebook where people, they just look in each other's eyes and suddenly they get a different connection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I just have a lot of questions and I would love for us to talk about some answers. First are my regrets. Do I know if I have any? Do I ever think about the people that were involved or should have been involved? Can I do it now? So regrets. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, I would have done my whole life over the same way. I'm like, no way. I totally respect if that's how you feel, but I highly doubt that someone else inside you agrees with that. Like I can remember when they laughed at me in school because I always had my homework done or whatever, and I would probably not relive that. What about you, Nazanin? Do you have some?
I think it's a super hard question because there's a part of me that would say, oh, there's 2 million other things that I would have done differently. But at the other hand, I think it's a very cheesy thing to say, but somehow if those things didn't happen, I wouldn't have been who I am now. And somehow I do like, after lots of work on myself, I do like who I am. So that's always the thing. But obviously there's a million things I would have done differently. But where would I be now? That's the question. No one knows. But they always say the biggest regret is about the thing you didn't do more than the thing that you did do. I know it's also very cheesy, but I do think it's true. But
And
yeah.
about this, if you have any regrets, like about not telling someone that you love them or that you
Yes.
desire them, or just go out and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always call me up, be like, you told me to do this thing and this thing. If there's something like you want to throw away and you can't do it, just do it. And there's like, I think we get fed this thing by the movies. I know something like no regrets, but just like you just said, it sounds really cheesy, which already means that like inside your head, you have like something that you would, but maybe you shouldn't because someone will say, I have it all the time while I speak here. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, what will they think? Or will they agree? Is this too much? Is this too little? And it has to be like that because otherwise, how am I going to go up to the 80,000 thoughts a day if I'm not thinking behind in my head? But which voice is dominating? What voice am I allowing to influence me or to take me?
Mm-hmm.
COVID, being locked in your home 14 days or 15 days, I was like, I'm gonna go out and walk every day. And it lasts like a month and stuff, and then I go back. So just let's really give ourselves some time to think about it. Regrets. And then what you talked about, Nazanin, remorse. something that I did that I'm not proud of or that I would have done differently? Who was involved? Who did I hurt? Did I hurt someone? Do they know that I know that I hurt them? Did I tell them? Do I know that I think I hurt them? Because sometimes we're not even aware of what is really going on inside. I had a discussion with someone. It was not really a discussion. It was like we were supposed to meet up and this person did not have time. And I was not at home, but I was working every day. And this person tells me, yeah, well, you know, for me, it's Monday. And then I was upset about something else. And then I sat down after, it's like, why am I this upset? And it's like, well, for me, it's Monday. You know, yeah, so what? For me, it's Monday. It's been Monday, like for the last 3 months with everything going on. So it's also very difficult to figure out what is really going on. Why do I feel this remorse? Do they even know? Have you ever tried saying you're sorry to someone? And they were like, why are you even thinking about that? I tried that. And I have been thinking about it for years that I wanted to say this. And they're like, you kidding me? And I was like, so it goes to say that so many times we think something is true or we expect something. It's
Mhm.
not like with the clients, I say, you know, I'm not, no, but I don't have that much stuff. Maybe, or I'm not gonna throw, so this live case from yesterday. Yeah, I know. So Lorenzo, he's writing, regrets are useless. And they take energy from you. Yeah, but can we not think about it? Is it possible not to have regrets? Maybe it is for someone. It's for me, it's not. I do have regrets. I think sometimes I could have done things better. I probably couldn't because I did do what I thought. But if I had been a little more mindful, a little this and a little that, my brain tells me that. Now, doesn't your brain tell you that? So you're the only one here. So I have to. So if I ask you the question like that, Nazmi, it's very difficult to tell me no.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, yeah.
So even in this little situation, it's like, I'm asking you a question, you're like, I'm not going to tell Lykke she's wrong.
Mhm.
I'm like all alone here. And that's how we can figure out if someone is a sword or a shield, right?
Yes.
Okay. What were we talking about?
Remorse.
Per favore. So she changed position. Okay, so she's trying.
She got close.
And like, this is the carrots. I've been feeding her
Ah.
carrots because she likes that. She likes that. Tesoro, dopo. I'm just gonna go see if the door is open so she can get out. It was. Okay, so remorse. And this is we don't know how much time we have. I know everybody knows more now after COVID, but don't think we give enough space getting stuff done that we would want to get done or had done if tomorrow you can't talk to this person for some reason. Maybe they don't want to talk to you. So. The third R is rabbia, anger. Anger. What is anger? What is anger? If you were to explain to someone that has never been angry, like they come from a different planet and they do not know what anger is. Like it's always happy. There's a movie, I think it's called The Green Planet. I think it's French. Like, oh, Nazanin, you can tell me. It's like La Pianevere, something like that.
Yes. Wow, that was German. I don't know it, but maybe.
Go check it out. The Green Planet.
Mhm.
And everybody's happy. So how would you explain to someone what anger is? Is anger?
Mm.
What is anger?
It's not that easy to define. It's,
What did, sorry, Nancy, I couldn't hear you.
I said it's not that easy to define.
For me, anger is when someone, I mean, that's one possibility, when someone does not treat me according to what I would want them to treat me like.
Mhm.
And it's almost always like that. If you go back to, we do things either to gain pleasure or to avoid pain. It's like anger is either someone did not give us the pleasure that we wanted them to give us, or someone inflicted pain upon us that we did not expect or did not want.
Mhm.
And going one step further and thinking about what I talked about in the beginning, I know this is a very dark episode, but I just need to get it, need some answers and feedback. So if you have feedback, answers, questions, ideas, please reach out and give me some. When do I get angry more than I should? How do I show anger? Do I show anger? Am I moving centered? And the way that I show anger is by leaving. And maybe the person I'm talking to is intellectually centered and they need to sit down and be calm. And they're like, what is going on here? But I'm angry and I'm moving centered. So I just walk out the door and like, I cannot touch you like this now. I need to go for a walk. And I leave the person like, what happened there? Or am I emotionally centered? So when I'm angry, like, no, there's nothing wrong. And the intellectually centered, they're like, is there something wrong? Is there nothing? Did I do? I know. Okay, I know by now because I've seen all the movies. So I know by now that there's something wrong, but I'm not sure know what it is. And since I'm intellectually centered and I want to rationalize, I'm not going to go into it. And if I think as an emotionally centered person that I'm going to get anything out of an intellectually centered person with that kind of behavior, it's not going to happen. Or am I an instinctive, let's say, dominated centered person? So I take a glass and I throw it against the wall and I scare someone with it. I've done it. Have you done something like that? Did I just say that online? I did that. Like I took it was huge a plate and I was like, bam, like that. Have you ever done that, Nazi?
I can't remember, but it could be something I would do. Yes, and in a very extreme situation.
It's very rational, you know, it's very mature and grown up to do something like that. But enough is enough, right?
Hmm.
So how do I get angry? How do I show it? Do I show it? If it doesn't get out, who gets it? Does the person that deserves the anger or did something that I did not want them to do or did not do something that I wanted them to do they deserve it? Does it help? What do I get from my anger? Or what do I not get from my anger? Olivia just so philosophical tonight.
There's so many different things in here, because I think anger is it's important actually to get it out. But maybe it's my personality that is like that, I don't know, but I think anger has to get out because otherwise it's gonna eat you inside. But
Yes.
the important question sometimes is when we get angry with someone when you know something, is to try to understand why. And because like I'm noticing for a few months now, because I mean, me and my boyfriend, we live together, obviously. And since COVID, we've been living together like 24/7.
Yeah.
And like we've reached the point, is like, could you give any so, but and at the end, the last weeks, I was like getting angry and every single little thing he was doing. And then at some point I said, okay, stop. Why am I getting angry so easily? So, and I tried to understand, was he doing something wrong, or was I the problem at that point? So anger can have so many different sources, I wanted to say, but sometimes but I think it has to get out somehow, because it's kind of I don't want to say it's kind of a symptom maybe that something is wrong. And then if you get angry, you're like, okay, maybe there's something here, I should think about it afterwards, obviously. But I think it's good to be angry. It's just like what you do with it and what you do afterwards. Like for 10 minutes, I went to.
Scary. I know. It's also scary, because what if I get angry and that person won't love me anymore?
Mhm.
Or what if I get angry and I hurt them so much that they can't forgive me? It happens all the time. Like, it sounds very dramatical, but it happens all the time. And sometimes we even fake that we've forgiven someone where we haven't. So that little voice behind your head, rah, 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 da, 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 da. And one last thing about anger is, am I able to see how I express it? And if I wanted to, I think, could I not express it? So Gurdjieff talks about the sexual energy, which might be the COVID case, because there's a lot of energy that you don't use when you're inside your home all the time, and it has to be used. So you go for a walk or do yoga online or a gym or whatever whatever works for you, because that energy, like you said, it just accumulates. A little frustration because you can't work, a little this and a little that, and the question is, could I stop myself and be like, okay, let's really figure out what I'm angry about. What is it that I'm not getting? What pain is this thing? Let's call it like that. Not to say your boyfriend, or it could be anybody. It's really hard to live with together.
Mhm.
Marital statistics agree on that. And or the pleasure. So what is it really about? And do I even know?
But I'm reading a lot about being angry. Somehow it's kind of related because of children, because I have a 2.5-year-old, and children only have, I mean, you know that, but children have two modes. They're either happy or they're unhappy, because that part of the brain that does okay, it's bad, but I'm not going to cry and blah, blah, blah. So they don't have that. Yes. It's not there in their brain. So obviously he goes from 1 to 100, and somehow in some situation he pushes my button also. So so, but the thing is that one thing I read about children is that every behavior is communication, and every communication is a need that has not been met. So they say that for children. So I'm trying to practice that with my child. But I was wondering, as you were talking right now, that it's probably the same for adults, actually. Like everything you do is some kind of a hidden
need.
Yeah. So it's not saying that the need is right. Maybe the need at that point is wrong. You never know. But I think if you know the need, then maybe it helps you not get angry. So I don't think it's easy, but I think there's some fight that we could all avoid if we were like, okay, why am I getting that fast, that angry?
Yes. So Anya, hi Anya, thank you for joining. She is one of my best girlfriend's mom. Totally love her. And she says, I think it's an answer to it's also healthy to be angry sometimes, because it gives space. What is important too is like where I live, how allowed is it to be angry? Like in my family, can we be like, and then everything is good? Because, okay, we got it out. or can we not be angry in our family? Because if we are, it's dangerous and you don't know what's going to happen. And am I aware of those patterns? Because if it's okay, my family, and I move in with someone or I meet someone and it's not okay in their family, is it just about what you said now, Nazanin? Like, okay, they have from 1 to 50. My family has like from 1 to 200 in anger. How do we compromise?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm 20, this person might be scared already.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like I'm 20, I'm not angry. Like if I'm angry, yeah, it's 200. And that's where it's really difficult to communicate because we have different perspectives, what is allowed, and even what anger is. Maybe someone is like, I'm not going to talk to you for 2 days. If you tell me I'm emotionally sensitive, you're not going to talk to me for 2 days, you might as well just kill me. I mean, just kill me. And someone that's intellectual might really, or even moving, they might need that distance. And I'm like, I can't deal with that.
Yeah, I hate the silent treatment also.
Okay. Resentment is a big, oh yeah. So Anya writes that it can become like a boiler. How do you call it? Like a pressure boiler maybe? And it suddenly just goes like boom. At it. I hope that's what you meant. And if you want, come online, but it's lovely. Thank you for your comments. In trykkoger in Danish, like pressure cooker. Yeah, so it's probably the same thing. Resentment. Huh. I resented the woman that surpassed me before the poll today because she actually, I got kind of like scared. I thought there wasn't enough space between us, and it's totally irrational. She's probably just busy. You know, she thought there's going to be enough space, and she's like, what? Resentment. What does it mean? How would you explain it to someone from, let's name a planet, Nazanin. What planet do we want? I don't know. I'm going to write it down. So I'm going to write Ku with a K, Ka with a C, and Ta, T-H-R, Kukata. So this is how we don't know what those humans are doing with their emotions, Kukata planet, because they're always happy. The first thing that I think when I think about that, that must be really boring. And that is just the proof that I'm emotionally sensitive. Like, if you're always happy, that would be really boring for me. How would you feel about that, Nizin? Like, always happy? Yeah, and then there's a whole philosophical discussion about can you distinguish what happiness is if you're not sad and so on. Resentment. For me, it's something that is deeper, like it's been going on for years. I'm trying to think of an example. So I resent that we, and I totally include myself in this, 100%, cannot figure out how everybody on earth can have enough food and a roof over their head. Like, I resent that fact. And I also resent how little I feel that I do or that I don't do towards this. What is one of your, like, resentment? If we really have to think about it, it's not something we think about every day or should think about every day.
I think for me, it's everything that has to do with woman rights.
Okay.
Yes, I get super, and it's funny because I get super fast, super angry. Like the last time I was like, I'm having a fit in the middle of the living room, and my boyfriend was, what's happening? And I wasn't angry as him, but I saw something and I was like, how could it be? That was the whole, I don't know if you got it, but the beach volleyball team from, I don't know which country, the woman decided to wear shorts. And they got punished for that. So, and then when you, I don't know if you watch that, but just look beach volley men and beach volley women. You see the different what they're wearing, and you're like, why? How? Oh, so yeah, no. So what has happened the last, I don't know, 2,000 years, that everyone thought that that's normal, everything that's happening with women, and I'm getting like, just talking about it, I'm like,
yeah. You can feel the energy. It's just like it has to come out. I get that, Nazanin, when I see parents that hit their kids.
yes.
And so this is Lykke before kids. I would never do anything to hurt or harm my kids physically. Lykke, after 7 days in a row where both boys have been fighting or shouting, and I'm tired, it's like, I want to go. So you really, sometimes you have to walk, and you can't walk in that person's shoes, but just try to imagine or send love, because me getting angry, or resenting them, what does that give me? I feel, well, yeah, that's it. I'm sorry, I'm telling myself I just asked a great question. So if I see something, let's imagine if you're watching the replay or just listening, when I see something and I feel this resentment, so for Nazanin, it's with women. I think almost all women can agree on that we feel resentment, but of course it goes for men too, or everybody else that is not treated, let's call it, right. What me feeling resentment towards this person that does not know, probably, unless I speak up, I could tend to do that, as my type. But what happens when I feel resentment? Who am I harming? Myself? Am I harming them? Am I doing anything good? Is my brain telling me that I'm better than this other person? Do I need to feel better? What could I do differently? Let's say this is one of these people that I was talking about in the beginning, that they're about to do something terrible that you cannot undo. How can I help? Can I send energy? Can I say a prayer? What would happen? What would be different if, instead of feeling resentment, I would love them or love me, or go back and say, I know this is probably, if there was a psychologist or psychotherapist with us, they would say that's what we do, and that is an amazing work. But that's super. But in that moment, would I be able to love the enemy? Let's call them.
I think that's the ultimate goal, like empathy. I think it's everything. Like, I read that in it's funny, it's a book about children also. It's called The Danish Way of Parenting. And I think
The Danish
Way of Parenting. And I think it's empathy. And the book says, it's again for children, it says you have to teach your child that you're empathic to someone, because if you say, oh, look, that's a bad little boy, he did da-da-da, then your child is never going to come to you and tell you I did something wrong, because he's going to be afraid you're going to judge him like you judged that one kid that one day. So it's just to show empathy all the time. But that's the thing. Like, I saw, I don't know if you remember, but in 2016 there was a bunch of terrorist attack in Paris, and there was that one guy that actually wrote a book. I can't remember the name, but his wife got killed, and he wrote a whole book, and he was explaining that he was refusing to hate the people that did it. He was refusing to talk bad about Muslim people, because in France it's kind of bad on that point, and he was refusing to to go into that negativity. And he was saying that would have been the easy way, but I don't want to, because that would be everything that my wife would have hate. So he was like, I'm going to be positive about everything, and I don't want to be hateful and blah, blah, blah. So, and I think that's the thing. It's a very hard, exercise. Like one day I was driving my car and I was blocking the way of the bicycles in Germany, and that one woman drive behind my car and like put her foot on my car, and I was like, "Ugh!" And I was really angry at that moment. But then I turned my head and I thought she had the child on her on the
Oh, okay.
bus.
Yeah.
The child wasn't actually in it, but and I wasn't even a mother by then. But then I was like, oh, maybe she just had a bad day and she had to get her anger out. So I think I'm not doing that all the time, but I think it's one of the things that could change our world if we would always think, okay, when that person did that, why? What happened? And could I respond with love somehow? Because
And I think it would also change us. 'Cause
yes,
let's say, I mean, do you have the title of the book, or if you don't, would you send it? Because I mean, so somebody takes the life of your wife and you write a book, and you kind of, you make it a mission not to hate those people.
mhm,
That is an example to follow. I mean, that's something Jesus said, that's something all religions preach, just like you
mhm,
said, empathy. But I think one important thing in it, Nazanin, is that he has the motive of his wife. And maybe that could help. So if I know that when I get angry, when I have resentment, I harm myself, I harm my inner organs, my all the hormones and stuff like that. Maybe we can talk about that with Linda someday. To change my whole balance, and I get taken. I'm not in control because I resent or I'm angry. So I'm hurting myself. Could I think about my kids, that I'm going to do it for them if I can't do it for myself? I can't remember who it was that's like, I think it might be Dr. Bruce. It's like, take care of yourself, go to bed, turn off the computer, turn off Netflix an hour before you go to sleep. And that doesn't mean, your handheld phone underneath the pillow. Turn it off. If you don't do it for you, do it for your kids. That made total sense for me, because taking care of yourself and being nice to yourself is not easy. So if you think about someone else, it might be easier. And I would Lorenza is an NFT artist, does amazing pictures, totally love them. So I would, and has kids, so it would also be interesting to talk about, I'm gonna make an appointment of inviting someone to talk about youth and the communication they have online and in the games and the reality they're facing. And as a KonMari consultant, how I know there are consultants out there that work with young people. So if anybody wants to come in and say how their method helps them, that would be lovely too. Because we want to diminish that number of young people that are feeling, goes for everybody, no matter what their age, but that a young person can take his or her life like that. It's unbelievable. And I'm sure it goes on a lot more than we actually.
but maybe just to give you a little bit of optimism, I think there's also something changing in the way we raise our children, like the gentle parenting, or how is it called, the non-violent parenting and everything. Like when you read the Danish Way of Parenting, it's all this new technique that is getting out there, are getting more and more people that loves it and try to practice that. Like it's not the same that how our parent did. So I think, and maybe 2 or 3 generations after that, I don't know, but I think we're getting there. I think that problem right now is that the children don't have that many people they can turn into. So like they don't trust they can talk to their parent as they want to. So they can talk to their teachers and they can talk. So they don't have people with whom they can talk. And I think
also be destruction, as in, I talked with someone last week about this, that we, up until depends on what country you live in. Up until 100 years ago, we didn't live like this. We didn't live like two people with two kids somehow. You know, there would be an uncle and aunt, grand
village. The expression, it take a village.
in the village.
But we don't have village. Like, look at me. I have myself, my boyfriend, and we have a son. His mother is away. My parents are in Paris.
Okay, I think that's an awesome
Sorry.
way. How can we make a village? How can we go back to the village?
Communities.
Yes. How can we go back? And if anyone is watching after, Stefan Benemelio, he takes it back to everything kind of we do, our reactions and responses, actions. But let's think about how many times we act and do actions and how many times we react and have reactions. That is from pent up anger or compressed pathos. So the desire to, not the desire, but the need to feel anger or resentment, or the need to love, which goes back to gaining pleasure or avoiding pain. To be more conscious about our communication and how we communicate to others, but especially these days, what are others communicating to us and how can we reach out? How can I be a little more of help to myself and them? What is the voice inside my head? What is it telling me? Don't listen too much because it's going to get really heavy at a certain point. Like now, Linda, I'm thinking about you. It's like beginning to, should I have that chocolate? Should I have that or should I not have that? So I'm getting to the 90,000. Nazanin, what are you asking? It's like, is my son sleeping? Is he not sleeping? What's going on in the back of your head?
Oh, so many things.
Okay.
Let's say the biggest theme right now in my head is should I quit my job? Should I not quit my job? Should I keep my job? Should I not keep my job?
Wow. Oh, yeah. Well, that's a biggie. That's not like a tiny voice. And that's been going on for some months, right? I think.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah. I had decided, and then something else happened, and then now I'm like, oh, maybe I can do half time, and then do my KonMari. I still want to do that, obviously, but like, when do I quit completely, and can I do something in the middle, to be a little bit peaceful and stuff.
And I think it goes back to these. What do you think?
Yes. No.
I don't want to have regrets, but I don't want to have remorse. I don't want to be angry with myself, for quitting my job or not quitting my job. It's a mess. The human brain, it's a mess.
There's no way to know the future. I always said I would so much love to have a thing to see like the future. I could, yeah.
I want like a scientist to invent a barometer that has all the thoughts, just loading up in a bottle. And I want to take all the positive out and what is the voice inside of our head? And when we're with someone and we really care about that person, what is the voice inside their head? And watch out for signals, because there's a lot of people that someone suggested me to read a book that was called Homesick. And I'm going to read that this week. Communicate, listen, and let's see how can we make a new village since the old one is gone. Nighty night.